A very good evening. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge, and this is GBS News at 9, coming to you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. We have a lot lined up for you tonight, but first, here are the highlights.
I believe strongly that every generation is called upon to rise up and tackle the challenges of their time.
National Breakfast Prayer Day. The president avoids politics as he leads the nation in a national prayer breakfast in Nairobi.
Nimemwambia gavana wa Nairobi tutakaa chini na yeye kwa sababu sisi ndio tulimchagua.
UDA party squabbles reach fever pitch as party names next for disciplinary action.
Wapatia watu wa script wetu siku 7.
Embu scrap dealers given 7-day amnesty as county records 5 million Kenya shillings in losses annually from destruction of advertising billboards and signage.
The people of South Africa must decide if they want unemployment.
All eyes set on the Independent Electoral Commission in South Africa. Ballot papers counting underway to decide on who would lead the country next. Will Julius Malema take it? To begin our bulletin, President William Ruto on Thursday avoided politics during the National Prayer Breakfast. Ruto instead emphasized the importance of unity among leaders regardless of political affiliations, as it is the only way Kenya can succeed. He reminded the cabinet secretaries, including elected leaders, that they are privileged to be holding offices in the country at this moment in time, and so they should strive to deliver on their mandates. The head of state stated that the country, they have a target of ensuring they create more jobs for the youth through the digital economy and have a prosperous nation. He challenged the leaders to double their efforts to ensure this is realized. According to Ruto, there will be no prosperous counties without a thriving Kenya, noting that the destiny is intertwined. The Kenya Prayer Breakfast is an annual ecumenical event offered under the auspices of the Speakers of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate. This year's theme was Hope. It is being organized by a group of dedicated volunteers who make up the National Prayer Breakfast Organizing Committee. Its purpose is to meet, engage, interact, and together pray for the nation in the company of fellow leaders from all sectors of society. The first Kenya National Prayer Breakfast took place in May 2003, shortly after late President Mwai Kibaki took to power.
Allow me to invite the chair us this opportunity to be here this morning.
That characterize the National Prayer Breakfast are not limited to a one-day in a year engagement. The noble intentions and patriotic ideals behind the National Prayer Breakfast should inspire us to be more than just leaders representing and articulating the interests of voters here in Nairobi. We must now adorn the mantle of ambassadors of peace, unity and reconciliation at the grassroots as we engage with the people we represent.
In the Bible, in the book of Matthew 11:26, Jesus himself, when his disciples were panicking because he has said, it will be very difficult for many of you to see the kingdom of God.
When we came into office, we had the worst drought in 40 years after 5 failed consecutive seasons. And through prayer, God gave us rains, indeed beyond our fair share. Through prayer, we have now food security, and the country is moving in the right direction.
Therefore, despite all the challenges, I believe strongly that every generation is called upon to rise up and tackle the challenges of their time. We must rise up as the leaders of today to deal with the challenges that affect our nation. I believe that this is exactly why we were elected to office about 2 years ago. With hope, patriotism, love for country, and love for one another, working hard with determination and prayer, I believe that we are up to the task of confronting some of our most urgent challenges. As we remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., who I had an opportunity to visit his mausoleum, who said that everything that is done in the world is done through hope.
President William Ruto secured the private jet State House chartered for his state visit to the United States for 10 million Kenya shillings after making a 20 million offer. Ruto, who revisited the matter amid a raging debate on the Royal Jet-owned plane, said friends offered the aircraft after he opted to travel commercial on Kenya Airways, having turned down a request for a 70 million charter, the cheapest he said State House could find. The head of state argued that Kenya's reputation informed the gesture by the undisclosed friends. It was not immediately clear whether he was referring to individuals in Abu Dhabi, where Royal Jet operates from, or the Gulf state itself. President Ruto insisted that he was serious with austerity measures instituted by his government, citing a 30% cut in recurrent spending taken by State House, the office of the Deputy President, and the Prime Cabinet Secretary. The president has faced heavy criticism for extravagant spending after it emerged that he hired a royal jet from Dubai, costing the taxpayers up to 200 million Kenya shillings for his 4-day state visit to the United States. This left citizens feeling outraged. Some labeled the decision insensitive, citing current economic hardships in the country worsened by the new increased taxes.
When I saw the debate in Kenya as to how I traveled to the US, and there was, all manner of figures, this plane is this big and it is like this, Google here, Google there. This one must have costed 200 million because the president needed to arrive in style in the US, holding Rachel's hand. I am a very responsible steward. Believe you me. There is no way I can spend 200 million. There is no way. In fact, let me disclose here that it costed the Republic of Kenya less than 10 million. When I was told the cheapest plane was 70 million, I told my office, go book Kenya Airways. Yeah. So when some friends of mine heard that I was going to travel Kenya Airways, and we have built a big reputation as a country. We have built friends. Some friends told me, how much do you want to pay? I said, I'm not ready to pay more than 20 million. They said, bring 10 million, we will give you the plane. Look at me, Kenyans. Look at me again. I must lead from the front. As I tell others to tighten up their belt, mine must be where to begin. So relax, you know, and the debate must end because I am that responsible. And it is going to be that way. We're going to make sure that we tighten up our belts, we live within our means. In fact, my plan is that in 3 years, we must have a balanced budget. We cannot continue to have a budget that has a deficit, that before you begin, you have to borrow.
The United Democratic Alliance party leaders have exposed their long-time carpeted differences after the party's Secretary General Cleophas Malala on Wednesday condemned the utterances that involved the Deputy President, who is also the Deputy Party Leader of the United Democratic Alliance. The Secretary General also warned the leaders of disrespecting the presidency by attacking the Deputy President, which Governor Sakaja also expressed his long-time hidden sentiments on the Deputy President bullying other leaders, as Davis Karani reports.
The UDA party is under fire as leaders affiliated to this Kenya's ruling party rub shoulders with each other, leading to the division in this party, and Cleophas Malala's sentiments stirred the water.
Certain individuals have shown blatant disrespect to the party leadership, including the presidency. I am specifically addressing the actions of the following members of the UDA party. 1, Githunguri Member of Parliament, Honorable Gadoni wa Mushomba. 2, Nyeri Governor, Honorable Mutai Kahiga. 3, Kapsaret Member of Parliament, Honorable Oscar Sudi.
Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga was the first leader to rebuttal the SG's sentiments, claiming that he holds no substantial position in the party.
Any threats from Honorable Cleophas Malala are just hot air because he holds no substantial position in the party. Nobody elected him, and Honorable Cleophas Malala, being in the United Democratic Alliance as Secretary General, is just like a square peg in a round hole. It does not fit.
A few hours after Mutahi Kahiga rebutted Malala's sentiments, the UDA Nairobi County Delegates Declaration Conference at Bomas was a no-go zone for the party's deputy leader Rigathi Gachagua, since the Nairobi County Governor Johnson Sakaja roared like a wounded lion.
Unajua hawezi kuwa wewe unanyanyasa watu, you've bullied people for 2 years. Unatajwa wiki moja unalia. For 2 years. Unabuli kila mtu, hii county ndo huyo. Hii county ndo huyo. Unatajwa wiki moja, unazama, unalia. You know, bullies are the biggest cowards. Do you know that? Bullies are the maka unaenda sijui kwa msitu, sijui wapi.
The basis of Sakaja's bitter statement comes 1 year after the DP warned him to be careful with the affairs of his community in Nairobi County, since he marshaled up for their votes on Sakaja's advantage.
Na nimemwambia gavana wa Nairobi tutakaa chini na yeye kwa sababu sisi ndio tulimchagua. Mimi ndio niliketisha Wakikuyu pale Nairobi nikamwambia wamchague. Na nimemuita tukae chini na yeye. Mambo yoyote ambaye anaamua ambaye anaweza haribu biashara katika Nairobi, kwanza tuongee tukubaliane.
The Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi was not left out in the mix, as he also went into his Facebook social media account and rubbished Cleophas Malala's statements against attacking the DP. Basing on the conduct of several leaders from the ruling party, which is set to conduct the party's delegate elections tomorrow, it is officially clear that the party is under a threat of falling out if the party leader and his deputy will not take a quick action to settle the differences faced within. But as I always say, it is only time that will tell. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is intensifying its efforts to recover government land and houses worth 5.2 billion Kenya shillings, which were allegedly appropriated by private developers in central Kenya. This sweeping initiative targets several high-profile properties and involves legal actions against former top government officials. Susan Nganga with the details.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is working to reclaim government land and houses valued at 5.2 billion, which were allegedly seized by private developers in central Kenya. This includes the official residence of the Central Regional Commissioner, properties of top national government officials in Nyeri County, police stations in Laikipia County, and the Njambini Agricultural Training Center in Nyandarua County. The Commission spokesperson Eric Ngumbi announced that the Commission has taken legal action to invalidate titles obtained through fraud to public property worth 1.2 billion Kenya shillings.
And therefore in this area, a former provincial commissioner, a former high court judge, and then the former minister of lands who has grabbed that land from, is it Nyahururu? Nyahururu are part of the people we have sued in court to invalidate the titles that they have acquired. The commission is currently pursuing government land that includes government houses and the land that had been set aside for expansion of government facilities, cumulatively worth 5.2 billion shillings in Nyeri, Nanyuki, and Nyahururu. Where we are now, which is the compound of the regional commissioner of this area, is part of the land that was fraudulently hived by private individuals in collusion with corrupt land officials.
The suits to recover public land and government houses in the three counties involve several former high-ranking state officials, including a former lands cabinet secretary, a former high court judge, a former provincial commissioner, and a former commissioners of lands. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. On that note, let us take our very first break. We'll be right back with even more.
And remember, the topic of the day is embracing one's role as a single man.
Ile ingine ni kutengwa na watu. Watu wengi ukiona single mother akiongea na bwanako, mind zao zinakuanga tu bwana kuembea.
Kuna any organization inaweza kuwa at least hata ile msupport ama ni wewe tumengangana kivyako akaingia hivyo.
Facial creams wenye wanatumianga. But before unjuane na hao wamama haki inakuanga ngumu. Unapatanga huyo mtoto already amechange hiyo kara, juu hafai kukaa kwa njua.
Kuna hiyo organization inakuanga na plans za kuongelesha watoto.
Kama wazazi
in future wanajiaccept. By the time wana realize they are not different. They are different.
I think akili yangu ilikuja kuona kabisa niko peke yangu. Ni penye saa unapigia ndio mambeste kuna mtu anakuchukulia simu. Na mimi nilikuanga na mambeste wengi. Mimi niliachiwa tu mmoja. Anaitwa Shikosheila. Akiona hii video, thank you so much mama.
Thank you Shiko. Akukosangi enjoy.
Alisimama na mimi.
So through through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins.
지셨고,
he carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified and he received the punishment for sins.
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb.
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데.
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. Gikomba traders whose stalls are near Nairobi River have expressed dissatisfaction with the government's move to demolish their stalls due to the previous flood situation in the country. This came following the government's directive to demolish structures on riparian land. Here are the details. Hundreds of traders in Gikomba Market, Nairobi County, who conduct their businesses near Nairobi River are now confronted with the looming risk of job losses as the government advances plans to demolish their stalls.
This time round, the government has ordered all those people who have constructed houses, businesses, or those who are farming in the riparian corridors to vacate that corridor. And if they don't, we will remove them by force.
This market is a source of their livelihoods. GBS TV took a spot check in Gikomba Market, and here is what the residents had to say.
Tuhurumie tu kwa sababu washabomoa kiasi ya kwamba pahali maji naweza tu pita. Kwa sababu sisi tuko wengi sana na tunashindwa tutaenda wapi. Hapa ndio tunakuraga, hapa ndio riziki yetu inatokaga, na tunaomba ya kwamba ikiwezekana watuhurumie tu tufanye kazi yetu.
The traders have termed the demolitions as inhumane and out of touch with the reality of the suffering of Kenyans. Others decried a lack of proper communication from authorities, saying that the notice was issued by word of mouth.
Na wewe kusema tufunge hata hawana kipimo, wanakuja tu wakitangaza kesho usiku tuondoe mali yetu, kesho isiwe hapa. Lakini sasa sisi tumesema hatutaondoa mali itakuwa hapa, wakuja kesho watuelezee pale tunasaenda. Kwa sababu ni baya sana kuwa wanakuja kuanzia hapa. Hii mtu ya Nairobi imeanza uko Kobomonyeri. Hizo manyumba zote hakuna nyumba imeguswa. Kama wanataka kubomoa Gikomba, hatisi hatuna shida. Lakini waanzie huko juu na Nsewajiru bridge kule Gara wakuja wakiteremka. Wakitoa
mothers of Mama Chai, those who cook food for us, watu wanapiga pasi, all those people they have business, they have their families to support. Where will the government take all these people?
Leaders pleaded with the government not to implement the 30-meter rules as many people would be rendered jobless. As the traders navigate this uncertain situation, they are calling on the head of state to provide clarity and address their grievances.
Kama ni kupanda miti tupewe ruhusa hata tupande na tuendelee kuishi huku tufanye kazi. Hiyo ningehimiza serikali. Iangalie hata sisi ni watu na sisi ni maasira. President wetu alituambia yeye ni president ya asira. Kwa hivyo akumbuke maasira pia. Hiyo angalia. Ile kitu kingine hii 30 meters ni mingi. Kama itawezekana atupunguzie hata kidogo, atuambie hata kama ni 10. Ni sawa, tukatai tuondoke, lakini atupunguzie hizo mita ni mingi.
Sasa tukiomba serikali kutusikilia tu huruma, serikali yetu, gavana wetu Sakaja, president wetu William Samuel Ruto, tunakuomba sisi kama wamama wa boga, wa baba wa boga, tusikilie tu huruma, tulee watoto wetu. We have no where to go. Tunaomba tu serikali waweze kutusikilia tu huruma zetu, tuendelee. Na kama si lazima tufakete, hatutakataa, but give us notice time. Tutaenda, sababu hatutabishana na serikali, hatutatumia kifua.
The government has spent 300 million Kenya shillings to relocate 27,000 people from riparian land, President William Ruto has said. Speaking on Thursday during the National Prayers Day, Ruto said the amount was spent to provide an alternative shelter to those relocated from the areas affected by floods. The head of state earlier said the country must act swiftly and decisively to mitigate the devastating impacts of floods and protect the life and property. The relocation exercise has seen houses in areas such as Mathare slums demolished with residents displaced, forcing them to seek alternative shelter. During demolitions by bulldozers, residents claimed that they were not given any notice to move their belongings before the demolitions began. On May 6th, President Ruto said that the government will give each affected family 10,000 Kenya shillings to help them seek alternative accommodation for 3 months as the government seeks a lasting solution. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki on Monday said about 25,000 households relocated from the Nairobi Rivers corridors having received the 10,000 Kenya shillings promised by the government. Kindiki said the remaining 15,000 households will receive their allocation by Friday.
Ago, as you all know, we went through another storm of floods, and we lost 200 people in Kenya. We have also had to relocate already 27,000 people from riparian reserves. We have spent close to 300 million shillings to make sure that these people who have been relocated have alternative places to stay. We still have another 13,000 that we are processing so that we can relocate them. And because we have been told that there will be above normal rains in Kenya for the next 7 years, we have to be careful so that we don't again put Kenyans in danger. And that is why, as a government, we have said we will relocate Kenyans who live in fragile ecosystems along riparian reserves, because we cannot afford to lose any life anymore.
The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is carrying out training for trainers of trainers in a bid to build capacity to enhance awareness among refugee and host communities. The two-day program will see participants awarded certificates and qualify as community trainers to help integrate refugees among host communities. Kenya hosts a total of 623,500 refugees and asylum seekers as of October 2023 from neighboring countries, where 86% of them being from Somalia and South Sudanese origin. Here is more on the same. By recognizing sustainable change requires more than just dialogue, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has taken to empower host communities in Kenya by educating them on the need to safeguard the interest of refugees as their host. It is by this that the Commission is undertaking training across the country for trainers of trainers.
Do you see someone else's rights being violated, and do you speak about them?
Led by the Deputy Director, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, Laban Cheruiyot, the Commission is conducting a two-day clinic for Nairobi region where the trainees are taken through the human refugee rights so as to help champion the same in communities in Kenya, mostly in grassroots areas.
The aim of this program today in Nairobi is to do a trainer of trainers training both for refugees and host communities, because we would like them to work together so that we can protect and promote the rights of everyone, be they refugees or be they nationals.
Refugees face a myriad of challenges in Kenya, among them lack of access to basic services and most are unable to move freely, severely impacting their ability to work. Sifa is a mother of many, a refugee from Congo. She explained what it means to be a refugee.
Kimbizi wanazulumiwa sana, sana tena sana. Sababu hata kwa hiyo mizunguko ya kufanya hiyo biashara ya chai, kufanya hiyo biashara ya vitenge, kuna mtu tu anajua tu huyo mtu ni mkimbizi. Hata anaweza kuita, anakunywa chai yako hata lipa, anakula mandazi yako hata lipa. Mwingine anakuita, anachukua vitenge, anakuambia utakuja siku fulani. Hiyo siku ikifika ya kukuja kuchukua pesa, inakuwa shida, hata na kugombanisha. Anakuambia hiyo pesa yako hautapata na hakuna mahali utampeleka.
Refugees are human beings from other countries. These people have rights. And my symbols for today, like we came, is to actually learn more on how we can improve their lives. So these are human beings. These are brothers from other countries. And it is us who make sure that we enable other persons in the community, those are indigenous Kenyans and another, even refugee to refugee, to make sure that you do to the other person what you would want to be done to you.
A new refugee law passed in late 2021 has the potential to change that, drastically improving refugee access to their rights.
Sumbuliwa, unanyanyaswa vitu zako, lienda kuuza, unanyanyaswa, unanyanganywa, hata na unachapwa. Mimi nimewahi kuchapwa na mtu alichukua vitenge zangu akakatalia pesa, alafu nilipoenda kumuitisha hiyo pesa nifungia kwa nyumba yake akanichapa. Lakini wakati nilikuwa sijajua naeza enda wapi. Lakini kwa sasa human rights iko. Sai mtu yeyote lakini zulumu, ninajua kwanza nitenda kwa chifu, nimpe hiyo ripoti nimezulumiwa na mtu fulani. Kama itawezekana tuende polisi, tunaenda polisi. Kama itawezekana tuende human rights, tutaenda huko. Haki ya binadamu anatutetea.
That have come into contact with our officers, and if they have any complaints, we call the employers. We try to educate them. You see, you don't fight with people. What happens here is that we are in a free economy, a willing buyer, a willing seller, a willing worker, a willing employer. So we try to arbitrate their matter and ask the employer to be fair to them. And most of them actually are not even employed in a formal employment. They are not in a...
The Commission targets success in facilitating community dialogue between refugees and host communities and building capacity to enhance awareness among host communities. It is a step forward where it feels that it will make them stand a chance in realizing their mandate as a commission to have an informed society on issues of human rights.
Offer legal representation. Refugees are normally arrested by police officers for lack of documents. So we do legal representation both at the police station na pia mahakamani.
As of 2023 October refugee data, the number of refugee and asylum seekers from neighboring countries that Kenya hosts amount to 623,500, 86% of them being from Somalia and South Sudan origin. In a decisive move to curb the rising cases of infrastructure vandalism, Embu County has announced a 7-day amnesty for scrap metal dealers to surrender any stolen public property they possess. The initiative follows a comprehensive ban on the sale of scrap metal aimed at reducing the theft and ensuring proper regulation of the trade. Here are the details.
Scrap metal dealers in Embu County have been given a 7-day window to hand over any vandalized public infrastructure in their possession. The decision emerged from a consultative meeting held on Wednesday involving scrap metal dealers, the county security team led by County Commissioner Jack Obuo, the county government and the Scrap Metal Council.
Tumepata suspects na tuko na cases kama 7 ziko kotini. Kuna cases ambayo zinakuwa prosecuted kwa sababu walichukua ama waliiba vitu za infrastructure.
So tumekubaliana kwa hicho kipindi cha wiki moja wataregesha hizo vitu, makaratasi yao yataangaliwa kuanzia tarehe 10 kabla ya tuwaruhusu warudi katika biashara na hilo ni kubaliano ambalo tumelifanya pamoja na washikadau wenyewe.
Maureen Mukami, the county chief officer in charge of investment, industry and marketing, reported significant financial losses due to vandalism. She revealed that the county loses over 5 million Kenyan shillings annually from the destruction of advertising billboards and signage.
So we are losing over 5 million every financial year when it comes to those zenye zinaibiwa. So inakuwa ni pesa mingi, na pia tunaendelea kufanya hesabu si hiyo peke yake. Na ukiona sasa tukiweza kuregulate maneno itakuwa rahisi.
Tumesikizana wapatia watu wa scrap wetu siku 7. Kama mtu alikuwa na kitu ilikuwa ya kuibia huku arudishie county, kama ni ya stima arudishe. After that tufanye fresh vetting, that is up to 10th of June, ndio watu wetu warudi kazi.
This coordinated effort reflects Embu County's commitment to restoring order and ensuring integrity of its public infrastructure, while also providing a pathway for legitimate scrap metal dealers to continue their business under strict regulations. This initiative is part of a broader effort to combat increasing incidents of vandalism, which prompted the county government to ban the sale of scrap metal a month ago. Governor Cecily Mbarire emphasized that the ban will remain until dealers undergo a fresh vetting process. The governor highlighted that the vandalized items included water meters, pipes, signboards, litter bins and metal fencing posts. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our news segment tonight, but first let us take a quick commercial break.
What exactly is that when you hear prostate cancer?
So there's an organ called the prostate that is part of the male reproductive system. The organ actually responds to
testosterone.
The testosterone. So the more it is exposed to it, the more it continues to grow.
Does the enlargement eventually lead to, and even before that, what is the difference?
When the growth is a lot, there's likely to be errors, okay? And when there are errors, that's when cancer occurs.
So are you able to tell that there is a change?
You said prostate cancer, one of the symptoms is erectile dysfunction.
Do they continue living their sexual life comfortably?
So prostate cancer is not a death sentence. For majority of people who are caught early, they're able to live life to the fullest.
Are you able to infect your spouse with this?
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast, and now to matters international news. South Africans exercised their constitutional right of voting yesterday after they came out in large numbers to decide on who would lead this Africa's most developed country. The counting of the results is underway, and South Africa's presidential candidates hope to take the leadership of the country. Here is that report.
Voting is a South African constitutional requirement which the South African citizens came out in large numbers to exercise, and for the first time, South Africans from across all regions walked to the polling stations early enough to exercise this right.
My vote is my right, it's my say. For what is going to happen, which is going to go wrong, I have a say on it.
The opposition leaders led by the economic freedom fighter leader Julius Malema have given different opinions ahead of the announcement of the presidential results, which the counting process is currently underway. Both leaders, starting from the ANC party Cyril Ramaphosa, the Umkhonto we Sizwe party leader Jacob Zuma, the Economic Freedom Fighter party Julius Malema, among others, are expecting the electoral body to to do justice to South Africans and deliver credible, true and fair results.
Haiti appointed Gary Conille as its new prime minister, a decision coming after nearly a month of deliberation within a fractured transitional council. The appointment was confirmed on Tuesday evening, marking a pivotal moment for a nation grappling with escalating gang violence and political instability. Conille, a UN development specialist, was chosen by 6 out of the 7 voting council members, with the only absent member, St. Laurent, who did not participate in the vote. Conille steps into the role as Haiti faces severe challenges through gang continuing to wreak havoc in the capital, Port-au-Prince, targeting peaceful neighborhoods and demolishing police stations and prisons. This violence has created a dire need for effective leadership, with the hope that Conille's leadership will bring stability and guide Haiti toward a more peaceful and organized future. On the 29th of May, the United Nations mission in South Sudan commemorated the 76th International Day of United Nations Peacekeepers with a special ceremony in Juba. At the event, the special representative of the Secretary General and head of UNMISS, the United Nations mission in South Sudan, commemorated Nicholas Haysom, recognized the important contribution of almost 18,000 civilians and uniformed men and women who served the cause of peace under the UN flag in the conflict-affected country. He also paid tribute to the 14 personnel who have lost their lives in the past year.
The challenges they face are greater than ever, but they persevere to protect civilians, prevent violence, support political settlements, and build sustainable peace. Sacrifices will never be forgotten, and their legacy inspires us to continue our efforts in the pursuit of peace.
As we commit ourselves to building better together, the government of the Republic of South Sudan, under the leadership of His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, supports your endeavor and is always ready to continue working with the United Nations mission in South Sudan and the other international agencies present in the country to advance the well-being and the safety of the people of South Sudan.
The United Nations supports the sovereign right of the government and people of South Sudan to conduct their own elections. Our role has been to provide technical and other assistance for those electoral preparations and to support the establishment of the necessary preconditions, as agreed by the parties themselves, so that elections are free, fair, credible, and most importantly, peaceful, and do not become a drive.
After the devastating landslide that struck Enga province at Papua New Guinea on Friday, the International Organization for Migration, local authorities, UN and other partners are rapidly mobilizing to address the unfolding humanitarian crisis. In a statement issued on Sunday, the Secretary General was deeply saddened by the reported loss of hundreds of lives in a massive landslide in Papua New Guinea. He extended his heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and expressed his solidarity with the people and government of Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, it's a tough one, guy. So
Robert De Niro and former Capitol Police officers criticized Trump outside the New York courthouse. In a heated press event outside the New York courthouse on Tuesday, actor Robert De Niro and 2 former U.S. Capitol Police officers denounced former President Donald Trump as a threat to democracy. De Niro, known for his roles in Taxi Driver and The Godfather Part 2, warned that Trump's return to the White House would jeopardize personal freedoms and core of democratic society. Labeling Trump as a dictator for life, Trump's advisor, Jason Miller, defended the former president, calling the case against him garbage, and dismissed De Niro as a retreat used by the Biden administration for distraction.
This is the time to stop him by voting him out once and for all. We don't want to wake up after the election saying, what, again? My God, what the hell have we done? We can't have that happen again. I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave. What does that mean? Is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life?
At the end of the day, this election is about Donald Trump and his vision for the office of the President of the United States. Not as a public servant who answers to the people who elected him, but as an authoritarian who answers to and serves only himself.
The fight for a lot of us didn't end on January 6th, that evening when we went home. The fight still continues now. What happened that day was an attempt to overthrow an election. Donald Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy and the safety of communities across the country today. He has encouraged and continued to encourage political violence.
Everybody knows this case is complete garbage. President Trump did nothing wrong. This is all politics. If you don't think this is politics, then why do the Democrats wheel out a retread like Robert De Niro to try to change the subject? You could see the look on the Biden campaign staffers' faces. They knew this was a bad idea. They didn't want to be here. But somebody at Central Command told them that everything is going down the tubes for Joe Biden.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. That international news brings us to our sports news. Let's get sporty. Manuel Neuer and Toni Kroos could each attend their fourth European Championships after being named in host nation Germany's Provincial Euro Squad 2024. Germany were eliminated at the group stage of the past two World Cups and were knocked out of the Euro 2020 by England in the 16, but got into this summer's tournament as one of the favorites. The 2014 World Cup winners begin their campaign on the 14th of June against Scotland in Munich. Here are the details.
Midfielder Toni Kroos, 34 years, announced his international retirement in July 2021, but reversed the decision in March following talks with head coach Julian Nagelsmann. Goalkeeper Emmanuel Neuer, 38 years, has not played for his country since 2022 after breaking his leg following the Qatar World Cup. Bayern Munich duo Leon Goretzka and injured Serge Gnabry miss out, while Tottenham striker Timo Werner is absent with a hamstring injury. Mats Hummels and Julian Brandt have been key figures in Borussia Dortmund's run to the Champions League final, but are omitted from the 27-man squad, which will be reduced to 26 after Germany's friendly matches against Ukraine and Greece in June. Here are the squads named so far. Goalkeepers include Oliver Baumann from Hoffenheim, Alex Nubel from Stuttgart, Manuel Neuer from Bayern Munich, Marc-André ter Stegen from Barcelona. The defenders include Waldemar Anton from Stuttgart, Benjamin Henrichs from RB Leipzig, Joshua Kimmich from Bayern Munich, Robin Koch for Eintracht Frankfurt, Maximilian Mittelstadt from Stuttgart, David Raum from RB Leipzig, Antonio Rudiger from Real Madrid, Nico Scholotarbach from Borussia Dortmund, and Jonathan Tah from Bayern Leverkusen. Midfielders include Robert Andrich from Bayern Leverkusen, Krich Furich from Stuttgart, Pascal Gross from Brighton and Hove Albion, Ilkay Gundogan from Barcelona, Toni Kroos from Real Madrid, Jamal Musiala from Bayern Munich, Alexandra Pavlovic from Bayern Munich, Leroy Sane from Bayern Munich, and Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen. The forwards include Maximilian Bayer from Hoffenheim, Nicolas Fulkrug from Borussia Dortmund, Kai Havertz from Arsenal, Thomas Muller from Bayern Munich, and Denis Yundev from Stuttgart. Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
Bayern Munich have appointed Vincent Kompany as their new head coach on a 3-year deal. Tuchel left Bayern this month as the club finished third in the Bundesliga, their worst league position since 2010 to 2011. The Belgian Vincent Kompany, 38, succeeds Thomas Tuchel and leaves Burnley for the Bundesliga side after the two clubs agreed a compensation fee. Talks about persuading Tuchel to stay also failed to reach a positive conclusion, leaving Bayern with a problem. Bayern have struggled to find a replacement for Tuchel, whose initial exit was announced in February. Bayer Leverkusen boss Xabi Alonso, Germany manager Julian Nagelsmann, and current Australia coach Ralf Rangnick have also turned down the job. Kompany won the championship with Burnley in 2022 to 2023, but suffered relegation from the Premier League this season after finishing 19th. Kompany has built a decent reputation in his time at Anderlecht and Burnley. Also, the Clarets' relegation following the lofty pre-season expectations has not reflected well on the Belgian. A four-time Premier League winner as a player with Manchester City, Kompany became Anderlecht head coach in 2020 following a spell as player manager before moving to Turf Moor. And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Many thanks for joining this live broadcast, and as always, here at GBS News 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Good night.